We were inspired to give this concept of KNOW as a consequence of your interpretation of verse 60 of Surah Kahf, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares that you will find the most learned of all men at Majma'ul Bahrain, the place where the two oceans meet. And the question is, can you interpret for us? Give us a little bit more of your understanding of this Majma'ul Bahrain, or the place where the two oceans meet. Is this something that is important? Why is it important for us to re-establish this alliance between Islam and science? Do remember that Musa alayhi salam, hadith of Sahih Bukhari, had given this khutbah or sermon in Sinai, and then a man came up to him and said, "What a fine sermon you've delivered, you must be the most learned of all men." And the hadith informs us that Musa alayhi salam unfortunately responded and said, "Yes, I am the most learned of all men," but did not mention Allah as the most learned, to praise Allah for knowledge. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then responded and informed him, "No, you are not the most learned. No Muslim. There's one more learned than you are." And Musa alayhi salam said, "I'd like to meet with him." And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then gave him directions and guidance to take a fish and put it in a basket. And since we are dealing in this story with Akhirul Zaman, we immediately recognize that the fish has an important role to play in Akhirul Zaman. Perhaps the first comment that we can make concerning the fish, that it is food. It is a source of nutrition. And therefore fishing as an industry and fish farming is important for us in Akhirul Zaman. So take a fish and put it in a basket, and you must travel to the place where the two oceans meet, Majma'ul Bahrain. And when the fish jumps out of the basket and makes its way into the water, there you'll find the most learned of all men. A fish jumping out of the basket and making its way to the water indicates a location which is by the seaside. So the most learned of all men will be located at a village by the seaside, where the sea is close by. So Musa alayhi salam went with a boy in search of this most learned of all men. The commentator of the Quran, Imam Baydawi rahimahullah, is the only one to have given this interpretation or ta'wil, that it is not literal, it's not two oceans like the Atlantic and the Pacific, but that this is symbolic language, this is religious symbolism. And he says that the two oceans are the ocean of knowledge, externally acquired, and the ocean of knowledge, internally received. And these two oceans of knowledge must come together in a single individual, and they must be harmoniously integrated with each other. Majma'u, to come together. Majma'ul Bahrain. Not two oceans of knowledge lying side by side, but two oceans that come together. And this is what I had as my teacher, Maulana Dr. Fadlur Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah. He was, mashallah, one of such people who embodied in his own education, in his own scholarship, Majma'ul Bahrain. It is necessary for us to re-establish this connection between knowledge externally acquired a knowledge internally received. If the Salafi is to grow, to be a Sufi, the Sufi is a term I wish was never invented. I don't have any need for the word tasawwuf, when Allah has given us the word al-ihsan. And al-ihsan is to worship Allah, to serve Allah as though you're seeing Him with the internal eye. And so knowledge internally received is the highest stage of religion. There is Islam, and there is Iman, and there is Ihsan. And it is at Ihsan that you will meet Khidr alayhi salam. And the scholarship that we need for this age, and I hope that my students are listening, so that tomorrow when I am in my grave, as my teacher today is in his grave, you will take upon your shoulders this struggle to bring these two worlds together, the world of knowledge externally acquired, the world of knowledge internally received, and bring them together to form a harmonious whole. That is the wisest of all men, the most learned of all men. And this is the only scholarship that can penetrate and understand Akhirul Zaman. And this is the only scholarship that can respond to the challenges of Akhirul Zaman. I don't think our Darul Uloom is doing that today. I don't think Al-Azhar University is doing that today. But you, my students, have a duty to struggle to achieve that.